everybody, it's Friday at 11 on January 14th, 2 weeks into this year. I'm doing my Friday live, and this is art journaling, and I usually just sit down and do whatever comes to mind with my personal art journaling style, which is a lot of texture and color. And today I've been moving stuff around in the studio, so when you get back, things will look a little different. Not that different, but a little different. And I dug up some of my old supplies and some old inventory, inventory that I have that I'm like, oh, I haven't really focused on this in a while, so I'm going to do that today. And so what I'm going to do is kind of just pare down to what got me into this sort of style in the first place, which was working with spray inks and texture. And these days I add all sorts of other things on top. I've got texture paste and lots of colors and textures, and I usually use acrylic paints in there as well. But today I'm literally just going to do texture and spray inks, and I just want to show you what can happen when you simplify. So let me show you what I've got going. I'm using the journal I've been working in recently. Let's see if I get this right. Oh, and I plugged this in today, so I get a little light on the subject. So this is the journal I've been working on for a little while now. Let's see if I can get this so you can see. And this is my usual stuff, right? Texture, paints. I do use spray inks in there, but I end up with, fairly substantial layers. When you use just texture and spray inks, it's a little more subtle. There, it looks like I was using that there. I just wanted to show you some of the fun you can get just keeping it a little simple. Let's see, make sure I can see your comments if you comment. And again, I'm just using some supermarket wax paper. Sometimes I end up liking the wax paper more than my work. Anyway, let's see. So what am I going to start with? I have two texture pastes that I'm using today. I haven't actually pulled this yet, and I was like, I should do that because this is cool stuff. This is Sizzix dimensional paste. It's their texture medium, and I actually really appreciate that they have this, even though it's annoying to get out, because these texture pastes do clog up. You can see how awesomely thick that is. It's like cement. And then I've got my transparent matte medium from Ranger. And so I'm going to be playing with both of those today. And I pulled this yesterday to work on my jelly printing with this Dina Wakley stencil. So I'm just going to start with that. And I throw down some texture. I'm not trying to expertly express the stencil, you guys know that. I don't mind if there's a little ruggedness to it. In fact, sometimes it annoys me when it looks like it's just sitting there on the page, so I'll come and knock down the edges a little bit and scrape in some more texture just to make it look a little less stark. And then I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. So this will be, I haven't used this before, so I don't know how it's going to respond to the heat gun. Some of them dry really fast, some of them bubble. The Liquitex one I think bubbles. I want to say Ranger's bubbles. A lot of Finnabare's bubble. And sometimes that's fun. It can be fun to sit there and make it bubble on purpose. Thanks, Kendall. Jump right in. I've got a bunch of different spray inks. I've got, the Aladdin Eyes ink. I have the Lindy's. Now Lindy's, and let's see, where's my, and the Glimmer, Tattered Angels Glimmered Mist are the two that really got me started on this. The Tattered Angels I used to actually carry in my old store, the Urban Craft Center, and then I discovered these because these were kind of the only thing around for a while. And they're beautiful, but they're a little Oh, this one's already clogged. I don't take care of my, you all know I don't take care of my products the way I should. So some of these, they all have a little mica in them, and that clogs the mechanisms. Come on in here. I should have tested these before I came on camera. All right. So the Lindy's then came out, and they had the Tattered Angels are really pretty, but they're very subtle. And then the Lindy's Stamp Gang came out, and they have these wonderfully bright colors. And one of my favorite things to do, when I finally started realizing that I was more into just the play of this, which again is very beneficial to your brain, just playing and allowing yourself to get messy and not have expectations, has a positive impact on your brain. But this was kind of what got me into the idea of looking for ways to expand on the texture and color working together. Now, this is that dimensional paste. You can see that it's actually acting as a resist in a way that some of my other texture pastes do not. Modeling paste, molding paste, some of those other ones, when you put them down, they have or a thick gesso, where I like really heavy gesso to work as a texture paste as well. And those all work in a way to interact with the color, and it looks like this one is actually working to resist it, which is kind of fun. So you can see it popping out of the color. And of course, a lot of these have a little shimmer to them, a little mica. The Moon Shadow Mists of the Lindy's has two colors in it, so you'll see that as you dry it, that second color expresses itself. So you're going to see that interacting with the texture. So really early on, all I did was spray paint spray with these color inks onto watercolor paper and watch what it did, and I didn't even have texture. So that was an evolutionary step for me too, is adding the texture. Oh, I usually have water. I forgot to get my water. So like for instance, when I get puddles like this, I usually like to come along and dilute it with some water, but I have this Glimmer Mist. Let's see if this one will work. Yeah. It just has a gold sheen, otherwise it's transparent, so that's going to do the same thing. It's going to dilute and add a little sheen. So I think that people can look at my my collection of tools and supplies and feel a little intimidated, and I just want to maybe make the point that it doesn't take much to do this sort of thing. You can use your watercolors, for instance. You don't need to buy a special spray, but even if you came in and just bought a couple colors and a texture paste and maybe a stencil or two, you could get started right then and there with just that. It doesn't take a studio's worth of supplies. And remember, the point is not, the finished product is significant, but it's not the point. The point is the process when we do it like this. And you could certainly change it into something intentional in terms of, using it as a background or creating an inspirational piece out of it, but lean into the process. And sometimes when we have ideas of what it should look like at the end, we get in our own way. Okay, so I'm going to add some more. This time I'm going to use some transparent texture paste. And I like using transparents once I already have color down, because what it does is kind of trap what's already on the page in a little window, which is fun in its own way. Now all of these sprays are water soluble, so you're going to notice that they're going to start picking up, the mediums I'm using are going to start picking that paint up and interacting with it. Now this is a matte medium, so once I dry it, it'll have a little matte effect, but it is an acrylic medium, so it is going to seal and be permanent. So the texture mediums are acrylics that are going to be permanent, and then the sprays are almost universally water soluble. Yeah, I'm using all water soluble sprays today, basically watercolor inks in a bottle, a spray bottle. And so far the ones I've used have been translucent, transparent, opaque, no, translucent, transparent. I'm already starting to get some of those interactions that I love so much. I can see, you know, some fun stuff happening here. I find this sort of thing to be, it feels undeveloped, this little corner, but you can see I've got some richness building. I've got some interactions going on that that's the essence of what I look for when I do these things, regardless of what I'm working with. Now I also have my Distress Inks offside sprays, and these are opaque, which means that when I put them down, they are going to interact with, but also obscure what's already on the page. So I don't know if you can see the difference that's making. Now remember, I have quite a bit of, I've got some blank spots, but I've got quite a bit on the page already that is water resistant. So it's going to pool on top of that. But hopefully you can see how it's softening into the colors that are underneath it already, blending a little bit. That's what I love. Talking about colors, that was salvaged patina. I always see it as savage in my head. Salvage. I use Stardust spray from Lindy's already. This color is Autumn Maple Crimson. I learned to read in here. Tibetan Poppy Teal. The colors that are down so far. Ooh, I also use this, which is the Glimmer Mist. It's vintage brass. I think it looks more gold, but I guess it's brassy. Brassy gold. Guess that's what brass is, huh? So I'm not a fan of the little rivulets usually. I don't hate them, but I usually try to dilute them into the page more. There's no avoiding them to some extent though, obviously. This one really wants to run around. Now working with these sprays is a lot of drying time because my method is to flood. So I really like to take the color, spray it on, and let it really soak the page. And what happens is that it runs in around that texture and highlights the texture a little more when I do it that way. So that's, you know, that's part of what I'm going for. Rather than being this sort of spritzy look is not my favorite. I've seen beautiful work done with a spritzy look, so it's not like I don't like it in general. I just, in my work, it feels unfinished. Sorry, I phantom heard a phone ringing. Ooh, look, I let that sit for a minute. You see this rich color that's developed because of the colors waking up and interacting? Obviously the force of the blow from the dryer moves the paint around, and so depending on how close you get, you can do that on purpose, or you can pull away and let it be more gradual. Watching paint dry. Alright, and then I think I'm going to add some more. See what happens when I use this color. I'm trying to get some of this texture that's in here to express itself a little more clearly. This one again. Come back with some more of this dimensional stuff. See how it interacts with having color underneath it. Now, one technique is to use the same stencil over and over and over again, even if it has words and that you want it to read, and you get this sort of reflection or echoey effect where you see it over and over and over again in the background and stuff. And so I actually really enjoy that personally. Just a little bit of that stuff. Put it up here. Usually what happens is as it sits there, it interacts with the color underneath, and the color flows up through it, so you get this cool interaction between what's already on the page and what you just put down. You see it did not stay white. And at any point you can change it, the color and the tone, by using a different spray ink. switch these things out. This is a Seth After color. These have no shimmer in them. They're just dye, and they're intense, as you can see. And I'm finding this this texture paste really interesting. It's not responding in a way that I'm familiar with. It's very different from all the other ones that I use. So it's kind of interesting. So I'm purposely trying to get this to move around some of this texture and get in there. So again, coming along and flooding and giving it a pathway to move around your piece is one reason to follow up with some spritz and expand the puddle that you created and let it sit a little bit. So I sell the Lindy Stamp Gang in sets. There are sets available if you want a place to start. And otherwise, you know, I have lots of different brands. I meant to bring out my, I don't have it out. I have the Dilution sprays. I have her shimmer spray and her regular sprays, which are very intensely tinted, very pretty colors. I have all of Tim Holtz's oxide inks and some of his regular inks. I have a bunch of the Tattered Angels. I have a whole shelf of Lindy's Stamp Gang. I know there's more out there. Eyes Ink. I have the Eyes Ink and the Seth After sprays. What else? I know there's more. There's more out there, I promise. Oh, I have the new ones from Cosmic Shimmer. What else? Kendall, can you think of any other ones that I have? Off the top of your head? Okay, there goes the lid. Oh, Diane, Dina Wakely. I have her, hers are acrylic. And they're a little bit of a pain in the butt because they're acrylic, they clog even worse than the shimmer sprays, like seriously. So they're not as easy to use in that way, but the colors are great because they're her colors, obviously. And I have them all, and I have her new ones. I do have a box to show you guys, and I'm pretty sure her new ones are in there in the box. That's what's in the box. Why did I close that? I don't know. Why did you close it in here? I'm going to use it. I'm going to put another layer of this stencil down. Reestablish it on top of all this color. And And so at this point, I might be more intentional about what I put. I might be trying to get, this one has some nice words. So I might be intentionally trying to pull that message through. I mean, I am intentionally trying to pull that message through. So a couple of these words, throw them down on top. Now I make the word truth. Truth will out. And this one is the word soul. And I'm only being careful because, you know, I haven't dried any of this, so it's just sitting there, potentially to be squashed. To be squashed. All right. That feels good. I don't always save my texture paste. Usually I have my sidekick next to me, which I don't today. My sidekick is a journal that I put next to me that I then clean my brushes off into, or scrape my wedge or my palette knife, or clean my brayer off into. I have, no, I don't. Yes, I do. I have yesterday's, I was using a piece of deli paper yesterday to clean off my brayer and my stencils, and to pull, you know, off my extra paint. And so that was my sidekick yesterday when I did my jelly printing. Today I forgot to grab it. And so I've just scraped it back into the jar. Hey Laura, thanks. Well, hopefully these demos will give you some ideas. It's not hard to start. The biggest thing, honestly, in terms of mixed media, is to just do it, right? To sit down, collage. If you don't like the collage, color on top of it. If you don't like the color, paint on top of that. If you don't like that, draw on top of that. It really is, mixed media just means you do everything or anything you want on the page without regard to the materials necessarily working together. And really it's just about suspending the idea that it's supposed to look like something, and that you just do it for yourself, for the process. And that might mean that you get page after page after page that looks exactly the same. And I also, there's no problem, there's no reason not to copy someone whose style who you like, especially when you're just getting used to the idea. For one thing, most of these designers want you to do that because they want you to buy their materials. But also, it's a place to start. And as long as you're not porting that it's your work, it can be your work, as long as you don't claim something that's directly related to somebody else's style as yours, then, you know, do what you want. We literally have in more open times, we literally have a club, the Dina Wakely Club, that comes once a month, and we art journal using Dina Wakely's ideas. Straight up. Ooh, what a mess. Now, I'm just gonna say it, if you're someone who's watched my videos or been in my classes before, you're gonna have heard it before, but if you don't like it, you're not finished. Keep going. It's the process that counts. You don't have to like it. Sometimes when you make something, if your mind's in the wrong place, or if it's acting as a vehicle for you to dump something you don't want to carry anymore, which this does do that, this work does do that for you. It can help you, you know, what's the word? I keep thinking vomit. Vomit your crap out onto your page and leave it there. And it can hold it for you, and it might be ugly and it might make you feel bad later to look at it, and if that's true, then tear it out or work on top of it and work it until you do like it. But again, this is for you. These methods are for you to use for your personal joy. That's it. It's the only purpose. If it doesn't serve you, then try something else. I think there's a lot of crossover these days with scrapbooking and card making and mixed media. You know, one thing you can think of is, say you end up with a spread and you like one little piece of it, you cut that little piece out and use that as a background for a get well soon or I miss you a lot card. Thank you for wearing your mask card. All right, I am going to show you one last thing that isn't related to these methods. Sometimes when you end up with some texture and you like what's gone on, but you want that texture to come up a little bit, there is something you can do to bring that texture back up through all of this color. And you know, I'm going to get this a little drier and then I'm going to show you what I mean, because there's texture in this spot right here, but you can't see it because it's underneath a lot of different layers of color that are interacting and obscuring the texture. And so I'm going to show you a way to bring that texture back up. I call it clawing the texture back up through all of this color. And it's also a nice way if something's not feeling cohesive, because I think that it's fair to say this page is not cohesive, that there are things you can do to add to it, like that adds a little veil, and every layer you add pushes the layers underneath it back down and into the background. So think about it that way. If you add a layer that covers the whole thing, then it can add cohesion. I just want to show you right here at this point something you can do. This is a archival ink. This is Wendy Vinci's color Night Sky. I have it. I have them all. And I just gonna come along and rub that texture right back up out of the color. And I don't know if you can see it because this page has melted onto that page. How that pulled up a little bit. Oh, it's hard to tell. You can do it with black. You can do it with a light color, an opaque light color. Sometimes that helps. And of course, I'm worried about ruining my ink pad. It's brand new. Barely. I'm almost never worried about sort of stuff like that, but if I can think about it ahead of time and actually do something to make sure that I'm not ruining my ink pad, then I'm going to try and do that. I'm wondering if that's working, if you guys can see that. It's hard because the color's blue. If I'd done a black, it might have been a little more obvious. But one thing to note is that now I've added this blue haze over most of the work, and the eye will read that as a little veil of color over top of all of this. And I'm wondering if the video is visible, because from what I can see, it looks really... So you know what I'm going to do? Excuse the jerkiness, but I'm going to just come in and see if I can't focus this on spots that maybe... There, you can kind of see how that pops out now. And I don't consider this finished. It is not. It's not. It's just not. It's not finished. But it's on its way, and I'm really hoping that you guys get inspired to use, you know, that this doesn't have to be complicated. Your page can look complicated, but the materials you use, you don't have to have racks and racks of stencils or buckets and buckets of paint. It just, you can do it really with just a few of these supplies. Anyway, I hope that gave you some inspiration, and that I see you next week. The plan is to at least be open for appointments, and maybe actually be open altogether. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, stay tuned. Take care, everyone.